A massive thank you for inviting us on today. I've got around about 20 minutes. Anyone that's seen me talk before will know this is something which I'm incredibly passionate about and could probably talk for 3 or 4 hours. So I'm going to try and condense it down into around about 20 minutes, but there's a couple of key themes. And one of them's summarized here in this first kind of quote, your corporate vice president of worldwide ops at Microsoft, and this idea that we're missing out on talent. And what we're here to do today is give you a quick screenshot of what we've done so far, what we're going to do next to ensure that individuals don't miss out, but also importantly that what we do isn't a nice thing to do, it's a sound business decision. And what we can do is make small environmental changes which will make a real life-changing difference. So in terms of just setting the scene for you, what I'm going to cover in the next 20 minutes, we're going to go through some facts and figures. We're going to look at autism and what it means. I'm going to focus heavily on the benefits of autistic employees and what they can bring to an organization across a wide spectrum of opportunities. Obviously, there's a focus on digital and tech, but this is across a wide spectrum. And then I want to kind of finish off by telling you about our exciting project with the National Museum of Computers. So from an introduction point of view, my name's Tom Cliffe. I set up Track back in 2018, and I'll give you our story so far shortly. But my passion's about working with individuals and making sure that everyone's able to thrive in a workplace. And that's what we're here to kind of set out to do. I think it's important to start with the definition. Apologies if anyone's got lived experience or is an expert in autism, but I think starting off with the definition is key. And one of the things that I've loved about working with Digital Northampton and various other organisations is learning from them. Some people will hear the term digital and freeze. What does it mean? What does it encompass? What's AI? What do we mean by certain kind of codes? That they're not my field of expertise, but they don't need to be, because I can collaborate with people. And I think actually one of those key things to do to start with is make sure we've got a clear definition. And there's a few bits just to pull out from that definition, which you can see on the screen. It's lifelong. When I first started the company, I met with many HR directors, CEOs of companies, one of whom said to me, "You don't tend to see many autistic adults." And actually it was, part of that is one of the barriers that people face of being able to get in front of employers, because an autistic child becomes an autistic adult. And even if you're diagnosed as autistic at 50, you've still been autistic all of your life. So I think that's important. And it's affecting the way in which a person communicates, relates to the other people around them, and more importantly, how they experience the world around them. And that's something where what we focus on is that environment and looking at what can we do to make small changes to the environment which make the workplace accessible to autistic individuals. A term I might use quite a bit throughout this is neurotypical and neurodiverse. And neurodiversity encompasses a suite of diagnoses, including autism, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, dyslexia. But actually, it's a different way of thinking, okay? And I've not got hours to go into facts and theories about this, but actually it is a term that I will use. Myself, I'm neurotypical. My staff is majoritively neurodiverse. One of the issues we've had is we've been quite successful in getting our trainers into work elsewhere. So I end up often having to do some of the talks, but everything that we do is informed and developed by neurodiverse individuals. So why are we having this conversation? Statistics can often be argued about. We see that in the news all the time, but somewhere between 1 in 69 and 1 in 100 people are diagnosed as autistic. So if you've got a firm with over 100 employees, the chances are statistically you will already have autistic employees in your workplace. Do you know how to best support them? Are you allowing them to thrive? Do they feel comfortable talking to you about this? I think we need to be aware. Current diagnosis is far more prevalent amongst males than females. There's lots of really, really interesting research that I can direct people towards in terms of why this might be. Sometimes the thoughts are just that females often display behaviours in a different way, and this can lead to a different diagnosis rate. Something which has jumped up the agenda since March is the changing nature of the workplace, and how now, I supported someone into work in January and was told by the employer that there was no way they could work from home. And by March, that employee was working full-time from home and continues to do so, because actually they're far more productive in a home working environment. They're actually far more efficient, productive, and from my point of view, far happier. And also what we want to do is look at the skilled workforce. We've got some of the biggest companies in the world embracing a different way of thinking. And we started off in Northampton, but are just a bit like Digital Northampton. We want to take it around the world. I see Richard's already managed to do that today with speakers from all over the world. But we want to do that and move out, because that statistic that's there, only 16% of autistic adults are in full-time paid employment. And this is something for me which it's just wrong on so many different levels. And then the statistic might be slightly higher, but the fact that it's not way closer to 100 means that we need to do something. A couple of points for you just to take away as quick wins, as I would call them. A few myths that need to be dispelled. People don't grow out of autism. It's a lifelong kind of, if you're an autistic child, you become an autistic adult. Autism isn't a mental health problem or condition or challenge, whichever term people would like to say. I, as a neurotypical person, have mental health challenges just the same way as a neurodiverse person can, but it's very important. The two are very, very separate. I think there's a perception amongst a certain generation that all autistic people are geniuses based upon the film Rain Man. That's not the case. Just like neurotypical individuals, there's a complete spectrum of academic ability, physical ability, social ability. And what we want to do is make it aware that we're supporting everyone into jobs. And we've actually asked employers to rethink, what do we mean by employment? It doesn't have to be 40 hours a week. We employ some people that work for 2 or 3 hours a week, and that's them fulfilling their potential, and that's what they really want to do. I guess in one way, I'm going to contradict myself slightly here, because I'm going to talk a lot about IT and tech and digital and how it suits some autistic individuals, but it's not true for everyone. We've supported people. Some are fantastic at sports. Some really enjoy the hospitality industry. It's about getting to know the individual and meeting the individual needs. And then this final one, again, I was guilty of saying it regularly. Oh, perhaps I'm a little bit autistic. Actually, a lot of autistic people can find that quite challenging as a statement, because for individuals who are diagnosed as autistic, it does present challenges to them on a daily basis. And whilst I'm going to focus a lot on the positives and what I think we can support employers with, that's not to undermine anyone who finds life extremely difficult. But they're just a few things for you to take away. So, Track, we're a social enterprise. Our official title at Companies House is Track NN, with the Northamptonshire part of our postcode in there, just to signify where we're starting off from. We're a social enterprise, and we're very proud to have played a small part in setting up the Northampton as a social enterprise town. And I think social enterprise is something which people can often misunderstood. We in no means, we're not a charity, because when we spoke to autistic people, they didn't want us to become a charity. But as a social enterprise, we obviously aim, and it's challenging this year, to make profits. But what we want to do with them is reinvest them in the company so that we can help even more people. And alongside the business, we've got two main parts to it, really, which is Track and Cafe Track. So our story so far, we started off registered in 2018. In 2019, we properly started trading. Since that time, we've now supported 35 people into paid employment across a wide variety of roles, from graphic designers to retail to logistics to hospitality to cyber security. So there's a whole spectrum of individuals that we're supporting. And what we want to do is to help move from awareness, so i.e. you can give me a definition of autism, into true acceptance in the workplace, where actually we accept individuals for who they are and we meet their own individual needs. And whilst I might talk a lot about autism, actually we've got to remember lots and lots of individuals within your workplace will have different ways of working and different ways of supporting them. Good workplaces will do a lot of what we say already, but what we're here to do is to make people think about, hang on, how can we make this workplace more accessible to individuals? So as well as Track, which provides training and support to employers, everything from workplace audits through to policy and documentation, through to restructuring interviews, We also have Cafe Track, which is the kind of creating opportunities part of our business. So it's based in the Market Square in Northampton. We're currently closed at the moment due to a testing station being kind of right outside our front door, but we'll be back very, very shortly. And what we do in there is we allow people the opportunity to develop their skills in a supportive environment. How does digital fit into running a cafe? We've actually redesigned our till system to make it help individuals for prompting for verbal cues. We can change it to images, which make it easier. Actually, we've got some individuals who are incredibly talented at verbally communicating, but might struggle on numbers. Well, the till does the number part for us. So actually, rather than looking at what people can't do, very, very small changes and focus on what people can. And you'll keep hearing me talk about small environmental changes which you can make. What we're not about is supporting, is trying to train people how to adapt to fit into a workplace. What we're saying is actually, let's change the workplace to fit around the individuals. And we can really, really kind of successfully help to do that in lots and lots of different ways. So of those 35 people that we've supported into employment, the feedback that we get from employers has been absolutely fantastic. And these are some of the skills which people come back to us with when we ask, you know, what has this individual brought to your workplace? So the high levels of concentration, tasks which might require people to really, really focus. We've seen individuals that we work with fit into those roles, and individuals have been praised about that. Reliability and persistence in terms of from a basic level of attendance, we've seen incredibly high figures of individuals often turning up early to work and wanting to kind of complete the tasks that are there. Accuracy and close attention to detail has come across to us from logistics roles to graduate roles to cyber roles. And that attention to detail and the ability to spot patterns, to spot mistakes. And like I say, every individual we support is different. But these won't apply to every single person, but over the 35 people, these are the kind of things we get back. Technical ability and creativity, individuals that can go through and we've got individuals who've taught themselves programming languages at home and then gone on to create things for themselves. Now, as an employer, that's what I'd look for, probably way above a degree, if I'm being honest. I'd be looking for people who've got that ability to look at things and create things. And when I talk about the Museum of Computing, that's one of the things we're going to be focused on. The factual knowledge and an excellent memory. We had an individual we supported into a stockroom role, and he had a better tracking of the stock than the computerized system, to be honest, because his knowledge of what was in there and when it was in there was absolutely fantastic. And actually he would complement the technology that was in there. And I think importantly, as a final point, something which is often missed out, looking at things from a different perspective. And this is where some of the biggest companies in the world are actually starting to relook at things and see the benefits of supporting people in a different way. Sorry, just a quick drink. Some of the considerations that you can make as an existing employer. Do you know if any of your existing employees are autistic or neurodiverse? Maybe they have neurodiverse children or relatives. What have you done to kind of support them as individuals? Because one of the challenges that autistic adults face is what's called masking. So in a workplace, they will be acting in a way in which they think they should, and this takes up an incredible amount of energy. And what we're finding is in companies that are open and encourage individuals to disclose and are then truly supportive and accepting, employees who've perhaps been struggling actually thrive because they're not using up energy kind of suppressing maybe a stim. So a stim could be a repetitive rocking action. It could be a verbal. There's lots of things which people could do. Now, if we actually say to people, look, you know, that's fine. That's who you are. That's helping you. And we educate each other, that they thrive in the workplace. The range of skilled employees part is very much in terms of actually, we want people that look at things differently. If you've gone through a university degree, fantastic. Congratulations on getting a degree. But have you been taught how to think and how to structure an argument? What we need now more than ever with home working, with different kind of supply chain issues, is a range of skilled employees. I said it at the start and I'll say it again. What we do isn't a nice thing. It's a good, sound business decision. Increase staff retention and the cost savings that are there. And also, I think importantly in this modern day, is making sure that you've got the perspective of all of your stakeholders, whether they be customers, directors, employees, whoever they might be. Does your workforce reflect that? Because actually, you'll see a lot of shops have an autism hour where they might dim the lights and the sounds, but actually for some autistic people, that really helps. For others, it doesn't. So what we've got to do is think about how can we make day in, day out activities really acceptable, accepting of all individuals. So a lot of what we do is about supporting employees and employers to allow people to thrive. So I'm not sure how the screen comes back at you there, but you can see the logos, a couple of huge multinational companies and a couple of what I would call growing local companies. What have they all got in common? Well, they've all embraced and are looking at ways in which they can make their workplace more aware and accepting of autism. So how do we do this? In terms of awareness, training, support, events, making sure we've got displays up around workplaces, talking to individuals, encouraging people to question what they do and why they already do it. Recruitment, I looked last night at adverts for cybersecurity roles, and basically the person spec and the job description described the benefits of the individuals that I've talked about upstairs, like the slide previously. But what we have to be aware of is the fact that when we are recruiting, are we putting barriers in place rather than enabling people? So by that, what do I mean? Go back and look at your job adverts and your job descriptions. On somewhere, does it say excellent communication skills? And what do you mean by that? And I think that's not me being cynical. This is me kind of encouraging people to question what they do, because I've worked with individuals who've been put off jobs I know they would be very, very good at because of the words excellent communication skills. And they will very honestly go, I haven't got excellent communication skills. Now, in fact, if you're a data analyst role where it's quite centered around you analyzing data, do you need to be fantastic at verbal communication? Listening, there's lots of these different skills. So let's break them down. We've worked with companies to rethink their selection process. Is an interview the best way of selecting someone for a job, or are we just selecting someone who's good at an interview? You saw the quote from Microsoft at the start. It's about changing things. The environment, what can we do? Is hot desking the answer? Can people have their own workstation? We've supported someone into work who was the runner-up in the Employee of the Year, who had his own workstation as opposed to hot desking. It made much, much more sense. Think about the tasks. Let's focus on what people are good at, as opposed to trying to get them to learn things where they struggle. So if you've got someone who's fantastic at data entry but struggles on phone communication, let's carve the jobs up. Let's look at our existing skill set and what we can do. And also importantly on there, we've got ongoing mentoring support for individuals as well. I'm aware I'm nearly going to overrun here, so I'll kind of scoot through the next couple of bits. Practical things you can do using technology, very simple technology in a sense. Workplace guides. Can you prepare anything from a simple camera phone guide? This is where you come into the workplace. This is what it looks like, right the way through to 3D modeling and 360-degree tours. So there's lots and lots of different things that you can do there. We've worked with companies, Office Odyssey, Spokes Education, ACS Office Solutions, to look at how we rethink the interview process. Can we let someone in for a short work trial? Microsoft are doing it, so why wouldn't we? And then the ongoing training and support is key. From an employer's point of view, you need to be aware there is funding available to support this through Access to Work. Disability Confident is something which you can sign up for very, very quickly. And what we really want to see that used at is not as a badge of a tick box exercise, but for you to show that you are 100% committed to giving opportunities to people from different backgrounds. So in terms of what we're doing next to create opportunities, we've partnered up with the National Museum of Computing in Bletchley. I took my 8-year-old son there yesterday. We had a great day. So if you've not been before, highly recommend it. There's a quick sales pitch of the museum's are available. But what we're going to offer there is 20 placements for autistic adults across the next 12 months. They're going to be tailored placements. This will be everything from working in the shop to making items for the shop to 3D printing. We've got coding workshops with Microsoft. And what we want to do is bring together the opportunities for the individuals and then the employers and bring them closer together, because the whole point is here, we need to support the employer as well as the employee. And those employment links are going to be absolutely key. And for us, very much like Digital Northampton, there has to be a focus on collaboration. We were delighted this week to unveil our first, one of our first sponsors for the project, City Fibre, on board. Obviously a national company there investing massively in local infrastructure. iShore are a company based in Milton Keynes, working on blockchain technology and lots of other different solutions. And what we're going to be doing is providing training for their staff to make them more aware, also letting them work with these individuals that we've got. We've got graduates, some of whom have now been out of university for 2 or 3 years and cannot access employment. Their skill sets are unreal, first-class degrees, lots and lots of different skill sets, but they're struggling with the process. And that's what we want to do. We're also working with the local CIC Autism. We've got a sport and statistics masterclass coming up, which is going to be a virtual session for autistic adults to again find out about their passion for sport and how we can combine that with employability through stats. So again, there's lots and lots of things and ways of working together. So in review, I realise I've overshot by 2 minutes because I said I'd give time for Q&A, which hopefully Richard's been monitoring. The key thing here is we've got an opportunity. We're undoubtedly in a massively challenging time, but whether it's digital, tech, cyber, whatever term you want to put at it, we have an opportunity now to rethink, what do we mean by our workplace? How can we make it better than it was before? If things are working better now, being open to new things. If someone questions why, it doesn't have to be a criticism. It can just be an opportunity to rethink. We've got a diverse pool of individuals across the country who want to work, who have the skills to work. And what we need to do is work together to create opportunities. You'll see there, we've teamed up with lots and lots of local businesses as friends of Track to create opportunities, from the university to the football club to Business Data Group, Office Odyssey. There's lots of opportunities there for people to work with. And that message of changing the environment and not the person. If you can just change from hot desk into someone having their own desk and that makes them work brilliantly, why wouldn't you? Okay. And actually, if your question is, well, if I do it for them, I'd have to do it for everyone, rather than me quoting the Equality Act at you, I'd say, well, why don't you do it for everyone? If that's going to make it easier and more accessible for someone, why wouldn't you change those things to make the workplace more aware? So I'm ever so sorry, Richard, I've overshot by a couple of minutes, but my details are on there. I'm going to stick around because I'm really looking forward to the other presentations, and we'll answer, I don't know if there's any questions people have got now or in the chat facility, but if you do want to connect with me afterwards, please do. So thank you everyone for your time.
That was brilliant, Tom. Thanks very much. Probably won't get through all the questions, but if you're happy to dive into the chat afterwards and maybe answer anything. I mean, I think the one thing I took away from that, well, many things, but look at what people can do and what they're good at, focus on that, and then where you can place them in roles was definitely a key takeaway. Just bringing the chat up, there was a fantastic comment, I won't say who by it was, just to the panelists, saying that they have Asperger's and they find it really difficult to get into work because of their disability. So they really, really value your talk and presentation today on this topic. They feel really strongly about it. So fantastic that that person's come on today, but just backs up the kind of work that you're doing. We've got a question in the Q&A. It was about Asperger's, but people in work, people might already be in work with Asperger's, with autism, but they've not been diagnosed, and they don't want to get diagnosed because they feel that might hinder their chances even more of being employable. What would you say about in terms of countering that, or a way of fixing that issue?
Great question. I mean, in terms of individuals and sustainability in workplaces, we've found external mentoring support has been key in kind of enabling people to maintain the work. In terms of, there's a couple of bits there, and I'll perhaps type a little bit more in the Q&A because it's a difficult question to answer quickly. From a diagnosis point of view, again, my view is that's the complete view of the individuals. It is your choice as to whether you wish to get diagnosed or not. Does discrimination happen in the workplace? Yes. Let's be honest, you know, that's what we're working to get rid of. But actually what we're finding now is that there are more and more companies who are actively looking, and not just, it's not tokenistic. They're rethinking their whole interview process. Microsoft has changed their entire recruitment procedure to employ individuals. Now, for those people who are there, you know, there may be many people who've never even considered getting a diagnosis, but they will still be Asperger's, autistic, whatever kind of diagnosis that individual could get in a sense. But I think it's a really, really challenging one. And I think that moving from awareness to acceptance through training, sharing success stories, countering, and, you know, dealing with discrimination where it happens has to be key. But I will type a little bit more in there as well, and happy to connect with individuals as well afterwards.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, Tom. I think we'll probably we'll leave it there to move on. David's asked a question in the chat just to the panelists, but it'd be a good one for you to maybe answer in the chat, Tom. Just give us some examples of the different digital and tech roles that you've helped autistic people get into. I certainly know one that you've done fantastically well to play. So no, that's brilliant. Really appreciate your time on that. And anyone out there who wants to connect to Tom, he's all over social media. You've seen his email up there, so I'm sure he'll welcome your contact. So thanks very much.
Cheers. Thank you.